From the Republic Media Network headquarters, it's time for Arnab Goswami on The Debate. Arnab Goswami on The Debate.
The American deep state is back at work, and we need to be very careful in India. On January 3rd, 2026, the US, under Donald Trump, called out what they was calling absolute resolve, Operation Absolute Resolve. It's basically a regime change operation. They sent in the US Special Forces, including the Delta Force, to kidnap Nicolas Maduro and his wife out of Caracas. Ladies and gentlemen, this was as much, as open, as brazen a regime change operation as ever. In fact, there's no subtlety in this anymore. It's just become very direct, very brazen. You agree with America, it's fine. You follow what they say, it's fine. You don't, they're going to carry out regime change. I've been speaking about the deep state and regime change as tactical American strategy for a long time, because I believe that India needs to be prepared for America, much more than we are. Remember August 5th, 2024, the day when Sheikh Hasina's helicopter landed in Agartala. That was a regime change operation. It was not a student protest. It was an American-sponsored regime change operation. I had, at that point of time, put out a video saying these are foreign hands at play in Bangladesh. And the reason I spoke about the US regime change operation is because I felt in my gut that that is how America operates. That is a large, deep state-led conspiracy where you find out who are the people who can either be threatened, blackmailed, manipulated, or used in any country against its own people and its own leadership. Once you identify these people, you work on them, you incentivize them, you corrupt them, or you simply manipulate them into being your agents. Now, why did I say there was a regime change in Bangladesh? Is because when Sheikh Hasina visited India, there was a lunch that Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted for her in Hyderabad House in Delhi. And during that bilateral state visit, I was present at the lunch as one of the people invited. And during the lunch at my table, I was sitting next to her number 2, number 3, number 4 level leaders from the Awami League. And the person sitting next to me said that, Arnab, we are going to lose our country because we have refused to give the St. Martin Island to the Americans. And I said, how is it that for one island they would take over? He said, we have intelligence information, the Americans can go to any extent. That was after Prime Minister Narendra Modi was elected for the 3rd time. Sheikh Hasina came here, and then she went to Russia as well. But that was in June, end 2024. By August, within 2 months, she was out. And Sheikh Hasina herself said at that point of time that I could have stayed in power if I had surrendered the sovereignty of the St. Martin Island to America and allowed them to dominate the Bay of Bengal. Ladies and gentlemen, why I'm looking at Venezuela very closely is because I believe that Trump's America has absolutely no morals and no qualms. They can go to any extent to fulfill their geopolitical interests. And why? Because they are hungry and they are desperate. The Americans are $38 billion in debt. They are in huge trouble, ladies and gentlemen, as a country financially. They will use their military clout. They will use their geopolitical operation to carry out any extent of regime change anywhere in the world, and they will become more and more and more and more brazen in the future. Today, as far as India is concerned, they've surrounded us with 3 boundaries that are inimical to our interests. We all know Pakistan. We also have September 25th, 2025, Asif Munir and Shehbaz Sharif, they met Donald Trump. They opened up the suitcase with colored stones, and they said, Mr. Trump, all these rare earth minerals can be found in Pakistan. Let us stay in power. Let's do business. That's the language that Trump understands. We all saw how on 8th August 2025, just days after the coup, Mohammad Yunus was made to parachute to Dhaka to take oath as interim advisor. He still stays there. There's nothing interim about it. We all also saw how in September 2024, 1 month after taking oath, he went to America to thank Clinton at the 2024 Clinton Global Initiative meeting, and where he admitted that this whole operation in Bangladesh was meticulously planned. So he was an agent of the CIA. He met Alex Soros, and Alex Soros said, I'm just so delighted to meet Mohammad Yunus. And the whole Soros, Clinton, America, deep state, CIA link was all out there in the open. I keep giving this proof, but people do not understand. Please understand, viewers, the Americans carried out whatever happened in Kathmandu. It was not a Gen Z protest. There was a use of American deep tech platforms. They used a platform called Discord, a US-based application, to turn it into a mass mobilizer of violent crowds. And then after the violence happened, after politicians and their family members were burnt alive on the streets, the Americans said, we have no hand in it. The point is, American deep state operations are becoming more brazen, becoming more open, and I truly believe we are underprepared for it. Yes, it can never happen in India. We are bigger, we are more powerful. But at the same time, we must never forget, we do not agree with America on a number of things, especially oil. Now, the Americans have Venezuelan oil. They will control the Venezuelan oil, 17% of global reserves, and force us to buy the same Venezuelan oil that they were banning a week back. Ladies and gentlemen, consider this man now has control over 20% extra of the global oil reserve. This game is only just opening up. We need to be very careful for how it plays out. Regime change, I go back to that, takes place in many ways. In Venezuela, it takes the role of traditional special military type operations. Nothing decoy about it. Very brazen, very open. In India, I believe attempts at regime change rely on trying to undercut the legitimacy of our electoral democracy and our electoral process through phrases like vote chori. You keep repeating vote chori, vote chori, vote chori, in the hope that someone's going to buy it. And then you have Rahul Gandhi who says, India is not a nation. India is not a nation. India was never a nation. India is a negotiation of people constantly fighting, a negotiation devised by our colonial authorities to accommodate warring communities. By saying India is not a nation so many times, this man has done a disservice to this country. He should not be allowed in politics when he says India is not a nation. This is the narrative that Rahul Gandhi peddles. This is a narrative that goes against the spirit of nationalism. This is a narrative that will suit the people who want to carry out regime change in India very well. Rahul Gandhi, if India is not a nation, why are you in national politics? The nation wants to know. Anyway, enough time for Rahul Gandhi. I don't want to waste time on that. I go back to the issue of regime change. I'm saying this today because I want our nation to have a new wave of nationalism. I want our government to do much, much more than what they are doing to push the narrative for nationalism. Because if there is anything at all that will protect us from the numerous assaults from now when we are 4+ trillion to when we will be 40 trillion, and there will be numerous assaults, numerous threats, numerous challenges, many, many trying times that are ahead of us as a nation. The only thing that will bring us together is our spirit of nationalism. We have to do more. We have not done enough because there is only one ism as far as I'm concerned, it's nationalism. Wrong picture though of Donald Trump. We'll change that. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to push the point once again. America believes in only one thing with countries who do not follow them blindly, regime change. With big countries like China and India or Brazil, they can't do it, but doesn't mean they will not try. Today, I want you to remember of Manuel Antonio Noriega. I don't agree with what he did. Former military leader in Panama. I'm talking about 1989 because the similarities between Noriega and Maduro have been spoken about. He spent 27 years in several jails, even flown to France, eventually died, ladies and gentlemen, outside his country. Think of Saddam Hussein. Americans invaded March 2003, citing lies like his possession of weapons of mass destruction. Look at the similarity between the pictures of Saddam Hussein and Maduro. This is Saddam Hussein before he was hung in 2006. This is regime change. This is the real face of America. For American stooges in India, I want them to also think of Imran Khan. In 2022, he was ousted. I'm no fan of Imran Khan. I hate him and his politics and what he stands for. But he said, a US diplomatic cipher, that's a cable. He cited a US diplomatic cable sent by Pakistan's ambassador to Washington that said, all will be forgotten if a no confidence motion succeeded. And he was also out. Ladies and gentlemen, he is in jail. Nobody knows how he is today. Think of Jean-Bertrand Aristide in February 2004, flown out of Haiti on a US plane sent from Guantanamo Bay. He was also kidnapped. Think of Sheikh Hasina. More recently, Sheikh Hasina in Bangladesh 2024, Nicolas Maduro 2025. And ladies and gentlemen, remember what Pete Hegseth, the US Secretary of Defense, who they remanded to US Secretary of War, what he said. He said things that are unrepeatable, ladies and gentlemen. Today, the position of America is that you do not agree with us, we will finish you, we will eliminate you. And therefore, I believe that if you want to be a developed nation, if you want to be Viksit Bharat, you have to push only one agenda, and that is of nationalism. For me, there is only one ism. No communism, no majoritarianism, no minoritarianism, no otherism, only nationalism. Venezuela shows today that there are many, of course, it's a much smaller country, it's a much weaker military. It could not have taken on America. But the fact is, Venezuela shows that there is nobody else who stands up for you when you are in trouble. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no alternative for India but to have a very, very, very large, extremely big, much bigger than the present military-industrial base. And self-sufficiency. There is no substitute to a strong and deep industrial base. And self-sufficiency. We cannot have a system in defense where our supply chains are traced back to China. There's no point. We cannot have a growth in defense avionics where the engines are sourced back to America. There is no point. Because when push comes to shove, nobody will back us. We cannot have 70% of our supply chains of made-in-India drones originate to foreign countries. We cannot have dependency on the US and France for manufacturing GE and Safran engines for the Tejas. We have to think differently. We have to double our defense budget, not grow it by 5–10%. We have to have a global approach. We have to build capacity towards internal security much more than we are doing today. We have to have a national security apparatus that is larger and comparable to the Pentagon, and we have to have an intelligence agencies for foreign intelligence that are far more advanced, using far better technology than the ones we are doing today. We need to grow simply in terms of security, national security, external security, 2 to 3 times more in power than we have, and we need to do that in a short duration. Because, why? Because fundamentally, and I'll keep it simple, nobody helps anybody. Remember the last meeting that Maduro had, his last official diplomatic meeting before his abduction by US forces, was with a Chinese delegation led by the Chinese Special Representative for Latin American and Caribbean Affairs. Ladies and gentlemen, that happened 12 hours before the Americans came in. Did China do anything for him? No. Did he expect? He did. That was his mistake. Sooner India realizes nobody helps anybody, it is better. We waste our time, ladies and gentlemen, in certain levels of diplomatic activity which will be of no help to us. Russia gave him an S-300. air defense system, but Putin did not come to Nicolas Maduro's assistance. What is the moral of the story? Your only defense is yourself. You are your only friend. To be an autonomous, supreme, large, unquestioned military power, we have to reduce our dependence on anyone, because when push comes to shove, nobody comes to our rescue. Now, let me talk a little bit about how things are going to pan out. See, Trump is out of control. Things are going to go very badly going forward. And here's where I'm saying it. Trump says he wants to control Greenland. He's been talking about it again. He's used the military route. He's also realized that the global community does not respond. He's realized beyond tweets and statements, or like the statements that came out from the British Prime Minister who said, I'm trying to contact Trump. I don't know what the hell happened. Ladies and gentlemen, Trump realizes he has the world in its grip. Nobody is going to respond to him. Today, he said he wants to control Greenland. He wants to retake the Panama Canal. He says Cuba is ready to fall. He has warned Mexico, Colombia, Iran, Cuba together. There is not a whimper from the rest of the world. So, point being that he's also got control over a lot of oil. Venezuela has approximately 303 billion barrels of proven oil resources. This is about 70 to 20% of global oil reserves. As per OPEC data, Venezuela is accounting for 3.5% of total OPEC oil exports and 1% of global oil supplies. But that is underplayed. That's because he's not been able to. If Washington controls Venezuelan oil, it will flood or choke global oil markets at will. Trump will, going forward, totally weaponize energy pricing. And now that he has Venezuela under his control, ladies and gentlemen, he has indirect control over the rest of the world. He has disproportionate control over the energy security of Asia, Europe, and Africa. Now he's going to become more arrogant, more pushy, more nasty, more non-negotiable. He's already made statements about India wanting to keep him happy, which reflects his growing arrogance. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to also make one point. The regime change is not local. Regime change is about the control over geography, resources, and narratives. We must start thinking differently. We are seeing regime change happen all over the place, but we are saying, oh, we are too big, they're not going to take us on. They will take us on. They will take us on differently. They won't take us on like Venezuela, Bangladesh, or Nepal. We are too large, too big. But let us not be strategically naive. Today, the decision to keep Omar Khalid and Sarjil Imam in jail is a good decision, because people like Omar Khalid and Sarjil Imam are the useful instruments in the hands of people like Trump to carry out discord in our country. Discord in our country to carry out regime change in India. We cannot rely on things like democratic alliances, shared values, strategic partners. It doesn't matter. Nobody is going to stand with you when push comes to shove. We have only two options, ladies and gentlemen. Nationalism, one, scalability, two, and deep, deep, deep building of our own defense base, our own industrial base, and we have no substitute for military power and dominance. We've done a lot. I truly appreciate what our forces did during Operation Sindoor, but we have not done enough. There are countries who punch far above their weight when it comes to global might. Remember, the Russian economy is much smaller than the Indian economy, but they punch far above their weight strategically because of their military strength, because of their unwavering sense of nationalism, because of their intolerance to people who act as agents against national interest while being in the country. So, ladies and gentlemen, there are lessons from Venezuela we cannot ignore. The world is going to become a nastier place. Trump is nasty. He's only going to get worse. It's time for us to prepare, fight back, and the only ism we need to believe in is nationalism. Let's debate.
installations targeted. 7 explosions ripping through the night, at least 40 dead. And overnight, a sitting president captured and hauled. Did Nicolas Maduro pay the price of aligning with China or helping Russia? Or as it so happens, sitting over the world's largest known oil reserves? But don't see it in isolation. Regime change is an American template now. Nepal in September 2025. Young protesters flooding the streets. And the quiet hand of American influence. Bangladesh a year before in August 2024, the Hasina government ousted. Installed puppet Yunus visits United States and later boasts about tariff negotiations. Washington acted. A multi-billion-dollar United States LNG deal signed. The template has a history. Iraq, Libya, Iran, Panama. Meanwhile, trade deal with India hangs in balance. Different geographies, same pressure playbook. The deep state rules, whosoever the president. For India, like the rest of the world, the lesson is stark. After Venezuela, the American deep state is not a theory. It is a warning.
I welcome Pradeep Bhati of the Samajwadi Party, Vivek Srivastav, Santosh Mehrotra, Professor Santosh Mehrotra, Ratan Sharda, Ambassador Deepak Vora, General Bishambar, they are in the studio. I want to ask General G.D. Bakshi to start this discussion. Venezuela, lessons for India. Deep state is at work. Trump is going to get even worse and more difficult to handle, right? Progressively, he's got more control over oil. He's going to push India a lot. What do we do to prepare?
Arnab, as a military man, we have been watching this closely and we have very patent, obvious lessons to learn. The law of the jungle seems to be operating at the global level now. Might is right, and you can carry out smash and grab operations. The United States very specifically chooses weak adversaries. You know, militarily weak pansies that it can make an example out of by overwhelming concentration of power at that point of application. They have a standard rule book. Take a look back at what happened to Iraq in 2003. You demonize Saddam Hussein, say he's building weapons of mass destruction. What you want is his oil. And then you go and get that oil. You bribe the corps commanders, the divisional commanders of the Republican Guards. Instead of fighting, they quietly slink away, hoping that they, in the new dispensation, they will be given higher pays. And then they end up becoming the ISIS. Saddam Hussein is tortured and hung, right? But then what happens, Arnab? There is a lesson that America has failed to learn. That lesson is that the Russian advisors told the Iraqis to go guerrilla. 8 years of a guerrilla warfare campaign, and the Americans had to run out of Iraq. $3 trillion down the drain, thousands of body bags. Same thing happened in Afghanistan, which was even weaker. There it took 20 years, but the route was as bad as it was from Vietnam. Arnab, I want to point out one very significant thing which seems to have been missed in all these analyses.
Yeah.
There was triumphalism on display in Washington. We have bashed Venezuela, we can bash any country in the world. They were more or less suggesting
very
they
ugly.
do it to India. What has happened in Venezuela? But what has happened in Venezuela? You know, Rodriguez, the vice president, who was supposed to have fallen in line, she has said, we will not become a colony of the United States. We will fight. We will wage guerrilla war if we have to. Their trade unions will say, we'll ensure that not a drop of oil goes out. So I think there is a lot of slip between the cup and the lip. I'm amazed that the Americans did not work out an exit strategy. They did not define their end goals. They did not define a time horizon. If tomorrow America has to send in boots on the ground,
Keep changing.
there will be body bags, sir. It will not be as neat and casualty-less
but the American deep state, if you see
Even
Pete Exit's comments and some after that, the American deep state is extremely overconfident now because of the lack of any response globally. Am I right? And my view is, Dr. Mehrotra, let me take your view and some of those on the other side today. My view is, looking forward, they will push India more. Question is how much we can react, how much we should react, or how quickly we should build capacity to stand up on our own and be in a position to push back. Because remember, the one country who America cannot push back is Russia. The one country. That's because they punch over their weight. Trump is scared of Putin, not because of Putin's economic power, but because of Russia's military power and Russia's ability, willingness, and brazenness to use it when required. That's what the Americans are scared of. In fact, let me say this, Trump is even scared of North Korea. He wants to keep things okay because North Korea is too close to Alaska. He's scared of a country that can use its military might. We haven't done that yet. We haven't shown that yet vis-a-vis America. We haven't ever bared our fangs globally. I think sometimes it's time to build capacity fast. Dr. Santosh Mehrotra, how do you see things going forward?
You've already done it.
I'll come back to how we see this going forward. Let's just look at the current situation, and I will come back to what we need to do, Arnab. Why does this Venezuela intervention matter? I think we need to understand the deeper consequence. Of course, it's all about oil, just as Iraq was all about oil. But there is something deeper that's going on. Let's recall 50 years ago that the petrodollar system was built by none other than Henry Kissinger. In 1974, he made a deal with Saudi Arabia that we will give you protection and you must price and sell all your oil in dollars. And the entire American financial system is built on this one thing, the petrodollar. Because all oil sold globally must be priced in US dollars. That system came into existence from 1974 onwards. And this single agreement created artificial demand for dollars worldwide, and every country on earth needs dollars to buy oil. Now, this has enabled America to print unlimited amounts of money, the dollar, and that funds the military, it funds its welfare state, it funds the massive budget deficit, it funds the trade deficit, the entire deficit spending. Now, so the point here is that Maduro was like Saddam Hussein, was like Gaddafi, all attempting to begin to now sell their oil in non-dollar terms. For instance, Maduro had already said, and the Venezuelan government, Chavez had said before that they will sell oil now in any currency other than the dollar, any currency. The same thing applies to Saddam. Saddam said, we will sell in euro. Gaddafi, you know what Gaddafi had announced? Gaddafi proposed a gold-backed African currency called the gold dinar for oil trade. And this is what they don't like about our trade in oil with Russia and China's trade in oil with Russia, that we are paying them in rupees, the Chinese are paying them. So the entire BRICS system, intra-BRICS trade is increasingly moving towards a non-dollar system. This is an attack on BRICS. It is not just an attack on Venezuela. This is what we have to understand. They are feeling deeply threatened. The share of dollars in total reserve currency across the globe has come down from about 70% 20 years ago to now it stands at 56, just over 56%, and it will continue to go down. And just as the EU's economic power is waning in the last 4 years after their cost structure of their entire economy has gone up because they used to be dependent on cheap Russian oil, the value of the euro is also going to decline as European imperialism is also, like American imperialism, on the decline. So we have to take, now, what do we have to do? Let me close with that. You said we need to double our military budget, Arnab, but in the same breath, you also said we need to strengthen our economy. We can't do the same thing at the same time. Both the things at the same time, if we manage to double our economy rapidly with rapid growth, our military budget will grow automatically. We don't have to increase the current size of our military expenditure and then cut down on health, cut down on building infrastructure, cut down on education. That's not what we want to do. Let the Europeans do that. The Europeans have decided they are going to increase their defense expenditure from under 2% to 5% of GDP. Let them do that. Let them cut down their welfare state. We cannot allow that to happen. So we have to focus on building not just a defense production capacity, but we have to build up our economy and industrial capacity. The Chinese have pushed back. The Chinese have criticized the American action in Venezuela.
Yeah,
what has been our reaction?
I know that.
Matter of concern.
I just want to show here, in the middle, we have a live feed. Take two guests on the side. Live feed from the UN Security Council, where Russia has asked for the release of Maduro. America is speaking. I want to cut in 30 seconds. We keep our guests on. Let's hear. Stay. Audio up.
In states in accordance with the rule of law for the crimes he's committed against our people for 15 years. A similar action was taken in 1989 against Manuel Noriega. He was arrested, indicted, convicted in a court of law, served in prison in the United States and in Panama, and the Panamanian people, the American people, are safer for it, and undeniably, the region was more stable. This law enforcement action was directed consistent with the President of the United States' responsibility as Commander-in-Chief to protect Americans at home and abroad.
So I just bring the fader down on that. If you see the language and the tone being spoken, everyone don't move from their screen. I agree with your analysis. You see the tone and tonality there of the American representative at the United Nations. They're working to a plan. I'm looking forward. I'm saying that we are not immediately affected because we don't buy much Venezuelan oil. We used to, but because of American sanctions, etc., we compromised. We buy only some $200 million worth of oil compared to $11 to $12 billion in 2014. So we brought it down largely. However, what will happen is that the Americans will take control, as Trump has said, of the entire oil machinery, the infrastructure, oil infrastructure in Venezuela. They're going to pull that oil. They're going to have to sell it somewhere. They are going to have to sell it somewhere, right, Ambassador Vora? Then they're going to push it down our throat, and they're going to use it as a lever.
You did not know it for 11 years?
Just keep quiet. Did I ask you?
No,
keep quiet. No, keep quiet. I don't know which side you're on. I always doubt you. I'm asking Ambassador Vora.
Yeah.
I'm asking Ambassador Vora. Can I request you, Vivek?
Answerable to the nation.
Vivek, can I request you vote? You're part of the vote. You're a vote chory gang, aren't you? You're the
For
vote
11
chori
years
gang.
You cheered the American-Indian
You're the vote
friendship.
chori
11
gang.
years
You're the
cheered
American.
Trump.
You're the
11
American
years you
agent in
called
India.
Modi the Vishwaguru. 11 years, how to Modi?
Deepak Vora.
Listen up, man.
Deepak
I'm
Vora.
so happy.
Deepak Vora, when the Americans pressure, or not us, but when, will we not have to face a choice on whether we are true to the Russians, or stay with the Russians, or we, in terms of buying oil, go back and buy much more from Venezuela controlled by America?
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Goswami. It's always a privilege to learn from you and from my other colleagues in the panel. May I begin with what could be a controversial statement? You and I, sir, are both members of the Indian deep state. The Indian deep state which has only one commitment, which is nationalism, sir. We want to see India grow and grow and grow. So we are the deep state, and if we feel that the regime, whichever regime is in power, whichever government is in power, is not doing enough, we will pressure it in whatever way we can. This I've said with tremendous sense of pride. You as the best media personality in the world, and I as an Indian diplomat, we are part of the Indian deep state. Now the second thing, sir, you talked about vote chori, sir. Of course, it began with Maduro. His election was fraudulent. He stole votes. Out. Imran Khan, you mentioned, out. The Pakshes of Sri Lanka, cozying up to China, out. Sheikh Hasina, out. Then that is the narrative that is being used against us, vote chori, vote chori, vote chori, without any evidence. The day this started, this vote chori business, also was the day when we talked about, when certain political leaders made startling allegations about India never having been a unified nation, etc., etc. Now, sir, there is this Nobel Prize winner who was parachuted into Bangladesh. He's never won an election in his life, nor has he fought one. There's a Nobel Prize winner waiting in the wings to take over Venezuela. I'd be very concerned and look very carefully if an Indian politician wins the Nobel Prize. I'd be wondering what's going on. So, you are so right. My nationalism, my Rashtrabadi feeling says we will continue to deal with Russia. I don't care about the pressure. We'll resist it, sir, because they have never let us down. America wants to control us. We'll deal with it as we should. Well, we will never give up our nationalist spirit. Mr. Goswami, keep doing what you're doing, sir. Keep inspiring Aam Admis like me, ordinary Indians. Lead us, sir, so that we also make our contribution.
I would say so much.
Whatever the Americans.
I say so much so much pressure put on everyone. So much pressure always put on Republic for speaking the truth, for taking an unconventional line. But I want to say tonight that delegitimization of the electoral process, delegitimization or attempted delegitimization of the electoral process in any country is the most visible and central tool in the American deep state's modus operandi when it comes to overthrowing elected governments and sovereign nations that they are targeting. They did the same thing in Bangladesh. They've done the same thing in Venezuela. They will do it anywhere. Now ask yourself, Vivek and Pradeep, who does that in India? Who does the things that the American deep state will be very happy with in India? Who tries to delegitimize the electoral system in India, which will help the American intelligence agencies tremendously?
It's not about America, it is about India. Mob lynching of the Muslims, it's about India. Militant Hindutva, it is about India. There's no America in it. We are making the country weaker. The policies of the RSS and the Sangh. So don't try to question the opposition. You are a part of the cheerleading team. Mr. Ambassador Vora यहाँ बैठे हैं. ये cheerleading team के थे. ये तालियां बजाते थे. अब की बार ट्रम्प सरकार. China is trash. America is the future. And wherever I go, when I land about the American airport, that is what he is no clue at all.
What to speak on which debate?
Ambassador Vora.
Fix agenda. लाके बिठा दो. जो मर्जी बोलो यही बोलेंगे. This man trained in North Korea and China will keep on saying whatever the debate, he will just keep repeating the same thing. He doesn't even know what is the topic. He just trivializes a debate into very pitiable kind of arguments. He should be out of this debate because he doesn't understand international politics apart from China and North Korea. But yeah, we are talking about America's games. We are not talking about Modi's
Yes,
games.
America,
Please
America,
understand.
America.
We understand your
Aapki
games.
Modi America.
We understand your
Aapki
games.
baat Trump
I don't
sarkar
even
America.
I don't even want to respond to you.
America.
I will
कौन
speak
ताली
on the
बजाता था
topic
America?
that is the debate today.
Multinational
आप बोलते
आएगी
रहिए ना,
America.
आप कुछ भी बोलते रहिए. आपके जैसे
मैं
तो देश का
बोलूंगा.
दुश्मन है ना.
आपने देश को
आपको
बेचा है.
सीरियसनेस पता नहीं
क्या
चलती
बताओ,
टॉपिक
देश को
की.
बेचा है.
आप
Vivek,
आएंगे चिल्लाएंगे.
Vivek, I just lower Vivek's voice a bit. 1 second. I want to say one thing to Vivek. Vivek, may I say one thing to you? A man called Lenin, Vivek, just give me a moment, once described people like you. Just listen to me. He said that you represent what he called an infantile disorder. This is not my words. This is the words of Lenin. I want to remind you today that you are in bed with the people who pulled down the Namboodiripad government under the influence of the Americans. You people, Nehru, you all got together to bring down the Namboodiripad government, EMBS Namboodiripad of Kerala.
We are diverting the debate.
The regime change operation, Ratan Sharda, the regime change operation has also happened in India. Ask them who brought down the EMS Namboodiripad government.
That is irrelevant in today's
That is irrelevant. Now I've caught you badly. You've learnt it from the American playbook. I would like Vivek to come in. Vivek, see, Vivek is going to be more difficult for India. We need to prepare as a country. I would like to tell all the people in our country, we don't need the government to tell you this. The government will not tell you this, I will. I am going to say tonight, it will get more difficult in India. Nationalists across the country, please bring his voice down. Nationalists across the country, listen to me tonight. The government will not tell you many things, I am. We must unite. It is going to be a very testing time for our country. We have to play our part and call out the anti-nationals. Watch out extremely closely. Remember, and Ratan Sharda, remember, in Nepal, what did they do? In 2022, Samantha Powers, who Rahul Gandhi allegedly met, the administrator of USAID, put in $60 million to strengthen quote-unquote democratic institutions and civil society in Nepal.
Rahul Gandhi and his friends went to US asking for support for them to overthrow Modi. It's on record. Isn't it on record? Yeah. It is on record.
Yeah.
America,
which is why
to take away all the world resources. Isko chup karaiye. I don't feel like talking.
Vivek, can you be quiet? I'll get Mr. Bhati in. Santosh Mehrotra and Mr. Bhati.
Doesn't allow anybody to make any argument.
Yeah, please.
A nation which consumes 30% of natural resources with 5% population will need everything possible to corner resources. Earlier imperialists used to use church to justify their attack on others and capturing other resources. Today that fig leaf is gone. UN is gone. It is not even a debating club now. So you can just destroy any nation. Libya was destroyed, as already pointed by Professor Mehrotra. I will go back to Guatemala 1954, Brazil 1964, Chile 1973, Cuba 1933, 1960, Nicaragua 1990, Panama 1989, Grenada 1983. That is the history of America. That is the history of USA. They have no compunction. They will use any fig leaf. They cannot fight on the streets now. Yeah. So they will use remote-controlled, computer-based fight, which will not be able to do what they want to do now. But this shamelessness of brazenly taking away people, a country and clearly saying, I want fuel, I want petrol, I will sell it now. What can be worse kind of,
See, I think I'll make it very simple today. I'll even put it very, I'll put it very brazenly today.
They support people who are out to change the regime.
Mr. Sharda, the Prime Minister warned in, I think, October last year. And Mr. Bhati, my question, he said international conspiracies are being charged. I'm saying with responsibilities. National parties like the Congress and their allies are involved in this game. And there is no doubt among people today that the Congress party, other parties, there's a very serious attempt to destabilize the Modi government through non-electoral means, and there are open calls for foreign intervention, right? Now, people are going to put 2 and 2 together. America is going to want to intervene in India. It can't militarily. It will try through opposition parties, through others. And if it has people in India who, being in Indian politics, are happy to delegitimize our own electoral process, why would it not use them, Mr. Bhati? What would be your party's role then?
That is the whole idea.
Thank you, Arnab, and good evening to all. I have heard everyone with patience. I hope the same courtesy will be granted to me also. I will have just my pie of 2-3 minutes, Arnab, with your permission. First thing, please do not paint us. Please do not paint us protest legitimate. This is Gandhi's India, and protest is always legitimate. And BJP is the one who has done the maximum protest in his entire life.
Cut Assam from India.
Please, who is this? Who is this person? Please ask him to keep shut for a while, please. This respective person.
Is it legitimate to question election commission?
This is not,
Mr. Sharda, let him make his point because we have one or two panelists.
Why he is making fool out of him?
Thank you.
I'm patiently listening to him.
Okay.
No, don't make fool out of him.
Mr. Sharda, let Mr. Bhatti complete his point.
Let me complete my point. That is why I said initially that give me my 2-3 minutes. Right.
Mr. Bhatti, yeah.
Second thing, there is no need to tell us, nobody can tell us what is the nationalism and which party from which we come. Samajwadi Party Supreme Leader Honorable Akhilesh Yadav has always taken a stand in the favor of the country and the countrymen. From nuclear deal to Operation Sindoor, we stand firm with the country's interest, and we understand when it comes fight with the terrorism, whether it's a tariff war or any geopolitical war. It is not the first time that Americans have outside any government. It is the 7th time they are doing it. It's not new for them. So what lesson we have learned that we have to understand? My leaders do not do any petty politics.
They do, sir. Mr. Bhatti, you have a very senior leader of the Samajwadi Party called IP Singh, who on 9 September, he put out a tweet saying, Nepal today, tomorrow India. ऐसी स्थिति किसी भी देश में पैदा हो सकती है.
Can I give you numerous examples
tweeted,
of BJP? Can I give you numerous examples of BJP leaders saying what at what time? Do I have to remember?
I'm not stopping you, but I would.
When Sindoor,
but there are a lot of people from your party who were cheering on when Nepal happened. There are a lot of people in the Congress party who are endorsing the Venezuela model. There were a lot of people in the Congress party who were cheering when Dhaka fell.
Arnab, can you give me 2-3 minutes of mine so that I can complete my point?
Please doesn't mean I don't question you back.
Whatever question you have, please ask me after that also.
No, but you're not taking my counter questions. Why are there so many opposition leaders who are happy when regime change operations happen?
Don't paint us with a single outing with one person. I can give you numerous examples of BJP person talking about nationalism, democracy and secularism of this country. So do not please forget those words, what BJP people are saying.
No, I'm asking you, you're all part of that. Why did Sanjay Raut invoke Nepal and say Nepal today, India tomorrow, yes, स्थिति किसी भी देश में पैदा हो सकती है? Why did they all say that? Why did all the leaders of the opposition parties cheer on when Nepal burnt? No, I'm asking you, answer. Don't say listen to me. You listen to me, answer my question.
No, I'm saying that no one can do that.
But they have.
India is not Nepal, India is not Venezuela. I have told you that. And what lesson we have learned from the current situation? I'm sorry to say that I'm raising these points. We are facing a difficult situation from the west to the east. We are also getting isolation from our neighborhood. These are challenges. And what we have to learn, you are talking about $38.2 billion debt on America. That's
elements you can fire. And
one point.
Yeah, I now want to go to General Dayal because I want to go back to the geostrategic situation.
One point. Right.
Okay, you complete your point, please. Fast, please. Yeah, thank
you. You were talking about 38 billion debt on America. India external debt is $747 billion as reported by RBI in June 2025.
You don't understand the difference between that and 37 trillion. I'm sorry, you don't know maths then.
Let's not compare India with America or India with Nepal, Bangladesh or Venezuela. We keep on fighting as a opposition internally and
Okay, 1 minute. General Dayal, thank you. General Dayal, how prepared are we? 1 minute. How prepared are we to stand on our own in defense terms, militarily today? And what are the lessons of Venezuela?
Arnab, I'll quickly go over a few things. Firstly, and Jan Bakshi will understand it, I think, much better, and our viewers must understand. Stalin, we keep criticizing, and since you mentioned Lenin, he understood during the Malta Conference, Yalta Conference, during the Tehran Conference, that new form of colonialism is going to come in the world after Second World War. And that is why there was a race to Berlin. And Putin realized that there is nothing in Ukraine. It is all about reaching Moscow. So American deep state has been working for over 75, 80 years to destabilize the world, control the world. It is a new form of colonialism. They have a president who does not bother for anybody, who cares two hoots for anybody, for any international law, for anything. In his national strategy, which he said, this is my backyard. The entire Latin America is my backyard, Western Hemisphere, I'm the boss, and I will see what to do with others. The lessons for India very clearly, I will state. Firstly, let's not see one model of US. India is too big. India is too diverse. India has got too much of disparity in terms of various income groups. America worked on Soviet Union, which Soviet Union does not realize that deep state broke Soviet Union, which was strong, militarily strong, economically powerful, had all resources, yet they broke that nation because they work very differently. Which method they use with which country, we do not know. So our intelligencies must be built to tackle with the intelligencies and deep state of America. That must be built very strongly. And that must influence our neighborhood too.
How do we know Americans will not work with us?
We don't need to work with them. We need to build independent sources first to have intelligence matching.
Have we matched our external and internal defense apparatus?
No.
Do we have a national security structure?
We do not. We have a national security structure.
But do we need to strengthen it further?
But it needs to be strengthened. Firstly, there's no doubt we need to find alternative source of energy beside oil. We need to exploit our own.
What will Trump do, sir, now that he has Venezuela?
See, he has Venezuela. He would do dominance of the energy completely. He will dominate the trade routes. He will continue to now intimidate other countries. It may be next, maybe Greenland. There may be other South.
I don't care about Greenland. What about India? What will he do?
With India, he will keep pressurizing you. He's already doing through trade war. He's done it. He started with India, actually. We were the #1 target of his, intimidating us. But he will not succeed with India because India is today agriculturally, industrially quite stable. I mean, we must understand.
Will he militarily try to encircle us?
No way.
Bangladesh,
no
way.
Arnab, let me tell you
other
one thing.
countries.
No, Arnab, let me tell you. He may do anything on our neighborhood. That's why I came to the next.
He won't go that far,
neighborhood. Let's stabilize our neighborhood with our.
Jal Bakshi, and Deepak Vora.
Arnab, quick. No, please. You must understand Indian armed forces. We are not like our politicians who change parties and colors overnight.
Oh, yeah, well said.
We are a very strong army, very nationalistic armed forces. Nobody can touch India. We may not be able to go and capture South Africa or anybody, but nobody can do that to India because your armed forces are very, very strong, very ethical, and we may look weak sometimes to our polity. We cannot be looked to an enemy. If ever America, China, any country. But yes, we have a danger of now China and Pakistan colliding more strongly, so we got to guard that.
Yeah, I think we need to build scale capacity.
And we got to build our own infrastructure.
Much faster. Jal Bakshi.
Arnab, can I now?
Yes, sir.
Arnab, you have raised a very valid point. Should we increase our military capacity, our defense capacity? Yes. And we need to do it urgently. I strongly differ with Mehrotra Saab when he says, let us develop our economy. We've been saying that for the past 75 years. And the situation is, our Air Force, which should be 42 squadrons, is down to 29.
Yeah.
Pakistan has 25 squadrons. What are we trying for? Parity with Pakistan? Why did our government, Arnab, go into place a further order of 200 GE 404 engines from the United States, when we have already paid $1 billion and so far all that we got was 2 engines, and now we've gotten another measly 5. We need 200.
So I think General Bakshi agrees with us on building capacity. Deepak Vora, your thoughts, please. Deepak Vora, I think this is the only channel where we are doing thinking on the implications for India. I believe capacity building and nationalism. Nationalism becomes at the core because when nationalism becomes the religion of this country, the primary religion of this country becomes nationalism. At that point of time, we can use it, and we did not do enough. I believe we need to do much more than we have in the last few years. Deepak Vora. It's a strong insulation, yes.
Sir, you have set up, you initiated the nationalist conclave, more and more people are joining it.
Sir.
Ultimately, that is what matters. You can have the strongest military in the world, but regime change in India will not come through kinetic conflict. They'll use your own people. Here are enemies within to delegitimize and destabilize the government.
Yeah.
Therefore, nothing short of pure nationalism, nothing short of total commitment to India, sir. Strong military, not so strong military, how many squadrons? Very good. But nationalism is what must be the fire.
Absolutely. And on that, ladies and gentlemen, we need to be cautious of what happened in Venezuela. I'm glad we've had a conversation here. Remember, it's a changing world. For us, there is only one interest, our national interest. For the country, our primary faith, I repeat, has to be nationalism. I'll see you tomorrow evening. Good night and goodbye.
Time for a quick breather. Arnab will be right back with the debate.